Hello everybody, John here, and tonight on To The Garage we're doing another little chat over a beer, and this time it's with my good friend Gareth, and yeah, I've got my Doom bar ready for this conversation as well. And
I'm on the homebrew tonight.
Oh, it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
It is, yeah.
So Gareth's not actually a YouTuber, although he should be. Please get on to him after this.
Debatable.
Debatable. But we know each other of old, and we've got an awful lot in common. We've done work together. We're both engineers. We're both sort of self-employed, and we're both complete petrol heads and can talk about absolutely nothing for hours, as long as there's a sniff of petrol. So, Gareth, obviously, in your background, which is a lot better than mine, is a bit of a hint to what you're like. But I would describe you as having the almost perfect, iconic and quirky British car collection.
-1.
Exactly. You can't have perfect because you don't have an XK8. Spoiler alert. So
No. I was thinking more the green oval.
oh, right. Okay. Well,
not full size anyway.
Well, that I would include in your car collection is the half size bit. So you just want to run us through your collection and a few little details for our viewers before we get into things while I drink the beer.
Okay, well, as you can see behind me, this side we've got a blue Mini, a 1983 Mini, which I've owned for about 18 years probably now. Started life as a Mini City 1000. And over the years I've gradually modified that more and more, culminating about 10 years ago with a 16 valve head from a motorcycle engine running full fuel injection. So that's quite good fun. It's not a show queen, it's not a conquest car, but it's there to be used and enjoyed. On the other side, a much more recent acquisition, about 18 months I've had that now. That's a 1989 TVR 350i Rover V8. Been steadily improving that one. Some fairly major jobs last year, a bit more light tinkering this year. And a lot of nice sunny days during lockdown to enjoy that one when we were allowed out. Side, I've got a very recently acquired Jaguar, but unlike John, mine's the 4-door version, the XK8. As alluding to earlier, my children have a half-sized Land Rover Series 2, the Toylander variety.
So carpentry comes into the skill set in the Gareth garage as well. My carpentry skills only extend to cutting big holes in big bits of beach for my worktop in Olive, the future racing van.
Yeah, well, I must admit I get some help on the carpentry side from my father. So
you recently got your 308, which is a car that I want to get. I'd say I'm actively looking, but I'm actively resisting is the truth of the matter. The fleet's big enough just at the moment, but if I see the right one, that'll be end of game. And I know we've been exchanging a few emails recently, but the last one you sent through to me was pretty impressive on the fuel consumption.
So I mean, at the moment I've got a fairly long commute. So I've got a commute at the moment that's between 70 and 80 miles, depending on the route. It is genuinely a mixture of motorway, A road and B roads, and quite hilly towards the end as well. And this week I managed, considering the type of vehicle, a fairly astonishing 30.2 miles per gallon one-way run. Yeah. And even being less conservative and getting stuck in some traffic coming back the other way, the average for the day was still over 28. So a little bit of restraint required to achieve that, but it shows what can be done.
Yeah, I mean, that is very, very impressive, because the XK8 is obviously the same engine, it's the same car really, but I would imagine a little lighter and a little slipperier. And I would struggle to get anything over 28s, 29s. I can definitely do a 30, but I'd be in full-on economy mode.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm giving away 800 cc's in capacity, so I've got that on my side. But at the same time, I think I'm carrying around a good 200 kilos more than you as well.
Yeah.
So it might just be your lack of restraint, John, or it could just be a good look on the nature of the route.
It could be something to do with that.
Certainly, if you enjoy yourself, it's more low 20s, I've got to be honest. Fuel's only one of the elements of cost of running the car. And so, you know, a lot of people are paying hundreds of pounds a month, you know, on a lease or a BCP or an HP agreement. Obviously, I haven't got that outgoing with the Jag. I may have a little bit more maintenance, but you could buy an awful lot of fuel with what other people spend to drive something quite mundane.
Absolutely. And I mean, we're going to get into this in a minute. We had our 2 post-it note challenge for tonight. One's around YouTube channels, and the other one's around mods we do to our vehicles, our Jags, if we got $2,000 knocking around by accident. But just before we kick off on that one, so what's your most recent mods been on the Jag? I know it's a relatively new one, so it's more like fix than it is mod, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, it's a relatively new purchase. So the very most recent mod was today. It's been and had a little bit of welding done. So when I bought it, I was aware, I checked the MOT history, and the only thing of any concern whatsoever was some corrosion, although not considered excessive, at the front round the suspension.
Yeah.
So I've been doing some underbody cleaning, painting, wax oiling, preventative stuff, and I stumbled across this area, and what was described on the MOT as not excessive corrosion, I would have described more as a bodgy past repair. So that was a dark day in Jaguar ownership so far. But the good news is it's been to my trusted for many years car welding specialist today, who's repaired both front chassis legs by properly cutting out the rot and providing me with the evidence to show that he has.
Yeah.
For a very, very reasonable money. And I gave him a bit of a free shot as well to, while you've got it, poke it everywhere where you've ever welded one of these. And it came back with a clean bill of health. So feeling quite good about that one.
Well,
this is a good day now. Mods other than that, I've done some mild modifications to the exhaust to let some of the V8 music out. So it still doesn't sound anything like this one behind me here.
No, few things will.
But it's a bit fruitier now, mainly as a result of, I don't know if you can see, but it's now 2 of these lighter than it once was before. And they are quite heavy as well.
Yeah, people don't realise that a good mod to do to your Jag is just take the silencers off. Not to do with restriction, just the extra 3 children that you're carrying around with all the silencers. They are heavy.
So they're I guess they're the only real modifications. I mean, so the exhaust is a true modification. The welding is replacing metal that shouldn't have been there, so I guess that's now modified.
Yeah.
And the other modification that wanted to repair was draining the fluid from the electrochromatic mirror so I could actually see something out of it without forking out for a new one, which we'll come on to later. And that's a very glorious task that I don't recommend.
Commenting to one of our subscribers earlier today, I can't remember the exact question or the name of the person, sorry, but they were asking a question about how to operate their electrochromatic mirror and what all the bits on the back, the knob and whatever were for.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you, but I can tell you one of my friends has just bled his, so be prepared. Right, so I reckon a good moment to have a look at our post-its on the mod front, as we've been talking about that. And I reckon we'll do I go, you go, and see where we end up and have a chat. So to follow on a theme that you started, if I had £2,000 to spend, I would definitely be spending about £600 on Adamesh's Stage 2 exhaust system. And that's
It's quite a good value.
Oh, yeah. And I believe it'd be considerably cheaper than it would be for your X308. I think
that's probably a supply and demand thing, I guess.
Yeah. I think there's far more people are doing exhaust mods to XK8s than there are 308s.
Yeah, it suits the vehicle more, to be fair.
And that's the system I had on my previous car. Loved it. Yeah. Too loud for some people, I get, just because it's a Jag. It's not too loud. It's not necessarily as loud as Trevor behind you.
No.
But, I love the sound.
I can't see to that.
And I keep looking at other systems, and I quite like the idea of trying something different, but I just can't justify the expense, because the Adamesh stuff it's not cheap as chips, but it's a bit of a bargain in terms of modding on relatively exotic kit, I suppose. People call Jags exotic rather than Fords. So that would definitely be my number one on my list if I'm a £2,000 Windfall. And what are you going for?
Okay, so mine are in a totally different vein to yours.
Oh.
There's even a risk that you might disqualify one of them when we get to it. But your car is very much current circumstances accepted, but your car is very much a bit of a toy, a bit of a costed plaything.
Yeah.
Whereas I've got these two behind me. So my Jag is, for the moment, it's everyday transport.
Yeah.
And the nature of the mods I've come up with are reflecting that to some extent.
Okay.
So the first one, bearing in mind that we're talking about spending £2,000 on a £2,000 car here.
Yes.
It would be to convert it to LPG, which costs around about £1,300. Everything I've assumed buying new, we're not looking for any second-hand bargains or anything.
Yeah.
And that does seem quite an extravagance, and it's something that realistically wouldn't happen without that Windfall scenario.
Yeah.
We'd struggle to justify it. But we talked about the fuel consumption earlier, and in terms of the enjoyment of driving the vehicle, at the moment I'm kind of having my cake and at least sniffing it or licking it. But with the LPG, I'd be having my cake and eating it, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Interesting.
My number one on the list, if it was a pure Windfall situation.
So, I mean, the boots are quite shallow on the 308s from...
They are, but there's a full-size spare wheel in there.
Ah.
Full-size alloy under the boot floor. Arguably, all cars should have a full-size spare wheel, but I mean, it's become custom and practice now that people just don't.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not really disadvantaging yourself much beyond the average motorist by doing away with it and putting a donut tank in there.
No. Okay. Well, my number two is a new set of dampers all round. Potentially something quite nice. So I've actually given myself a range here. I can easily get a set of Bilsteins. So that's basically original standard from a decent maker. Yeah. And they cost me £530 for a full set, which I don't think is too bad, actually. No. They're quite chunky items on the Jags. But what I'd really like is a set of Avos. They're fully rebuildable, adjustable.
Yeah, that's what I've got on the front of the TVR, and they're nice. And to be fair, the rear's still on. They're Coneys, but I believe that they're original, so they're quite tired.
Yeah,
and that's for this winter. It'd be nice to bring the rears up to the same spec as the front.
Yeah, and I'd be looking at about £1,100 for Avos. So yeah. I'm still pondering, what's the best brand to go for, and somebody watching this actually might give some really good tips for Jags.
Yeah, true.
I'd like something that's got some adjustment on it. I don't want to lower my car, I've decided. I enjoy the fact that it goes anywhere, does everything. It's very sensible. For a sports car, it's got loads of ground clearance and the ride is magnificent. But I feel that the damping could be just a little bit tighter. But I'd love to be able to knock it back off if I didn't like it. And yeah, I should have cat suspension, I suppose, is what everybody will say to me. You should get the electronics. But then you're talking
what's to go wrong.
And what's to go wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, set of dampers all round, preferably Avos, Bilsteins in reserve, and I'd have to buy the seats for the front. I couldn't bring myself to put dampers in without changing the seats at the top, because they do tend to...
Are they bolt-in on yours? Is it like a whole platform that bolts in?
Yeah, it's basically a big disc about yay big, and then it's got a sandwich of urethane. It's a yellow foamy rubber, and a plate below it.
Okay.
Over time they collapse and they can give you some chattering noises.
Well, I'll go with number 2 then. So this is another practical one, and it's the one that you might disqualify. So it is a reversing camera in the form of a rear view mirror.
Yeah.
It's wireless from front to rear. So there is wiring at either end of the vehicle, but nothing that needs to run the length of the vehicle.
Yeah.
My 308 is quite a lowly spec, being a sport, so it doesn't have any reversing sensors.
Yeah.
Maybe not a bad thing, because I don't think they're always working at this age in the car's life anyway. And I just think, why go to the... I know some modern cars have both, but I've just come from a pickup truck that only had a camera and no sensors.
Yeah.
And I was very happy with that. And for me, the camera's the more superior technology, so why not go for that?
Yeah.
So I'm going to go for one of those. The reason you might disqualify it is because although this should be a windfall list, in the course of researching for this chat, it's happened. I was just checking the price. I accidentally bought one. So I've been looking at these since I bought the car.
Yeah.
I've seen them in Halfords around the 120, 130 pound mark, and sort of between 100, 120 on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the one that I really had my eye on, that I was checking the price on Amazon before this call, insert link here, was on a flash deal for $16.99 with quite a lot of good reviews. So it's happened. It's happening.
No, that's not disqualified. Also, I might need that link myself. I really like the...
It'd be great on your motorhome, I would imagine.
That's exactly where I was thinking. The T4 Betsy has this massive overhang at the back, which, you know, is great from a parking point of view in that you can park over curbs.
Yeah.
You're short in some car parking bays. But actually recognising where you are with that tail, it actually, you know, moves around. It's that far beyond the rear wheels. I think it'd be really useful to have the camera to see down where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's pretty neat. I mean, the camera just, you glue it with a sticky 3M pad to the back of the number plate, the rear number plate. So as long as you've got some space around the number plate for the camera to peer over.
Yeah.
And it fastens to the rear view mirror. Basically, it completely negates the issues with my electrochromatic mirror, because it is, I believe, self-dimming.
Yeah.
It's got night vision and everything, and you're not looking at the mirror that you've bled all the juice out of anymore. It's a new mirror, effectively. So yeah, quite neat in a couple of respects.
Anybody who doesn't know what the hell we're talking about there, the mirrors on XK8s and X308s of this sort of era, they don't dim in the same way as modern cars dim, which is sort of a film that changes colour. It's literally got liquid trapped between a pane of glass and the mirror itself.
No, there's the mirrored glass and a piece of plain glass. It's like double glazed, and they're insulated from one another with an electrical contact going to either side. And then this electrochromatic liquid is obviously polarizing when you pass a current through it.
Yeah.
So there's a light sensor on the mirror. It detects the headlights from the car behind you, dazzling you potentially, and it passes a current through the mirror and just polarizes it. Which I think is fine until, just like your double glazing units in the house, something goes wrong with the seal.
Yeah.
And the atmosphere gets in and the juice gets out, and then it's like letting the smoke out of a Lucas wire. All hell juice after that point. So when I bought my car, it was it literally looked like an aquarium full of yellow liquid, sort of about 2/3 of the way up the glass.
As an added bonus, whatever that liquid is that they put in Jaguar mirrors,
it's probably very toxic. I don't recommend playing with it.
It'll eat its way to the core of the earth, basically. It's very, very...
Well, apparently you've got to be careful, because depending how and when these mirrors let go, it can happen overnight, and you can come out in the morning and it's literally melted all your centre console, all the varnish off the wood and the plastic around the gear change. It just eats it. It's apparently it's fairly safe to people, but it's not safe to plastics. But yeah, I wouldn't. It's not good stuff. It's really not good stuff.
Dear. How many cars can you say, I've got to bleed me interior mirror? Or, again, as I did on a message to somebody earlier, John, I think I've got green oil coming out of my interior lights. Is that possible? Yeah, it is. It's called the green shower, and the hoses on your hydraulic roof have gone.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay. It's like LHM or something.
Yes. Yeah. It's the mechanism that works the latch on the hood. And when the hoses start to weave, it fills up the map reading lights with oil. Nice. You can't make it up. You can't make it up. Absolutely fantastic. Well, not only am I not going to disqualify that, I will get the link from. Quite
yeah, you may as well stick it. You may as well stick it in the description, John.
Yeah. Okay, so my third and final choice for my mods is relatively cheap. I couldn't spend all my money. I'm sorry. And it's the Mina Gallery, which is a very unusual brand, air intake system. I don't want an airbox. I like the standard airbox. But it's a mandrel bent aluminium but polished air intake tube with a very nice XK8 logo on, which is the main reason for needing it. And then silicone hoses both ends that are formed to go onto the MAF and into the throttle body. And
does it go straight into the throttle body?
Say again, sorry?
It goes straight into the throttle body and get rid of that sort of plastic ribbed elbow.
You've kind of got like a ribbed fist thing on the top of the throttle body.
Yeah.
So the standard one is about 3 1/4 diameter, but it goes down to almost 2.5 effective diameter over that fist, over the throttle body. And the Mina Gallery one basically gives you 3-inch smooth transition the whole way through. So it's slightly.
It still clears the bonnet, okay?
Yeah. Well, allegedly. I will find out when I'm spending more.
Well, I thought that the sort of squished nature was similar to your over-axle exhaust pipe, that they had a clearance issue.
Yeah, there may be a need to remove a little bit of pounding. But combination of it, looking pretty, which are, honest, that look great when you lift the bonnet. But also, when you're trying to improve the tune, let's call it, on your Jaguar V8, one of the first things you got to do is keep checking that snorkel for leaks, because it rubs on the bonnet in various places. The bellow
rubs through
a hard plastic, so there's a bit of twitch in that bellows, but they fracture and then bleeds air after the MAF. So,
that's the issue with the corrugated pipe on the TVR. That's a common issue. I've not replaced mine, but I'm fairly confident with it. Yeah. I must admit, with that fist, as you described it, that you push onto the throttle body, it's not a very positive location.
No.
The seal in the plastic part and push it down on the basis it can't go anywhere but where it should go.
Yeah. But you can never actually see that.
Design of the seal, it doesn't feel very firm or positive once it's on.
No. And that's a hell of a big throttle body. It's sucking hard. if it can get anything past, it's gonna.
Yeah.
All in all, I really like the look of this thing. You can get the airbox to match with the ram air effect, and it all gets a bit fast and furious for me after that. I'd rather just put a K&N filter in the standard airbox and have that really nice flow. And yeah, allegedly they're worth, I wrote it down, 8 to 10 brake horsepower on the normally aspirated.
That's quite a bold claim, John, for a piece of pipe.
It is. But the original bit of pipe ain't great. So it'll make a measurable difference. Whether it makes a feelable difference, I don't know. It will definitely make a visual difference. If I'm honest, at 150 quid, I'm okay with that.
You're just a tart,
yeah.
So does the breather pipe still connect into it? The big ball breather off the.
It actually uses a silicon breather pipe that comes with it, with just the I can't remember what it's called now. There's a special name for the type of connector, the snap-on.
It's like a claw that goes over a barb into.
That's right. Yeah. That's me. That's my. I got about 1,600 quid and then ran out.
Well, yeah, I've not blown the budget either. I could have carried on down the practicalities route, but I decided they couldn't all be sensible. So I'm going to defect to one of your preferred suppliers as well. I've been on the Adamesh website, and I was looking at the stainless steel mesh grills for the front of the car.
Yeah.
Sort of XJR style, but in the shiny stainless. Yeah. And I think because my car's black, obviously nobody else knows that, but because my car's black, I think that would really lift the front of the car.
Yeah.
I don't have a huge problem with the slats that are there, and if you look closely at them from a distance, you'd think they were body colour, but they're actually painted in a gunmetal grey. But I really like the look of the wire mesh.
Yeah.
So if I just did the sort of two BMW speak now, but there's two sort of kidney grills from the front, and that would be £135. But there's a lower grill below the bumper, which would have a lesser visual impact, I think, but that's £110 as well. So all in from Adamesh, it's under £250 to change those grills. So
that isn't too shabby, is it, for something that's? Yeah,
it's not too shabby. It's a lot of money to spend on a low value car, but I mean, just if this is just windfall money that we're talking about. I think that would be a nice look for the car. Yeah.
Well, we just need to go out there and find this £2,000 windfall now, because everything we said was utter sense.
We need to start doing the lottery. Buy some premium bonds, yeah.
Brilliant. So before we go on to post-it note number 2, I just got some stuff on my desk. I was tidying up earlier, and I got a question for you. I've been looking at recently centre caps on Jaguar wheels. And I've come up with a theory that the quality is going down as time goes on through the generation of the Jag. And the only reason I was looking at these, somebody commented on my car that, I see you've got the good Growler centre caps. And I've got Growler centre caps as far as I'm concerned. But I do know what they mean now. So I've been looking in my shed, and I've got 3 centre caps. I've got one. This is relatively modern. So that is what is it? XK. Is it Jaguar XK? And I think it's the same.
The aluminium version of yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's basically a blister, a resin blister with a chrome back for the cap, a bit of black, and then round the edge is supposed to be chromed behind the Jaguar, but the water's got behind it, probably wheel cleaners got behind it, it's all corroded, and I don't actually like that cat particularly, if I'm honest.
No, it's a bit Masters of the Universe, isn't it?
Exactly where I went. Exactly. It's an agent, obviously. And yeah, it's just a black plastic thing. It could be off any car, but that's what Jags are wearing. And then you wind back in time to my car, which is 1996. And mine's wearing these. Now, I wondered if these are the same as a 308.
They look similar, but mine are, I'm sure they're black. I'd have to check.
They do come in different
Definitely
colours.
the sort of beveled rim looks very familiar.
Now, obviously, it's still a blister, but this is, I reckon, best part of 8mm thick. It's got a fully detailed cat, which I think actually looks quite good, the Jaguar.
Yep.
And this is, oops, one of the ones off my car, as in, you know, I've taken it off. So that is 20 odd years old. And although it's chrome plastic around the edge, it still looks great.
So what do you have to do, John, to get a red one of those? What vehicle are they for?
So you can go to SNG Barrett for sure and just order X308, XK8 growler wheel center in red. But it'll sting just a little bit because SNG.
They look nice though. I've got to admit that there's a chap on one of the social media forums that I follow, and he's taking centre caps and the red ones in particular, and using them to make bespoke gear knobs. Getting a piece of wood and setting that in the top.
Yes.
And they do look really nice. I can see it being a project for your channel, to be fair.
I think it might be. Because I have got some spare old ones of these that aren't quite so nice. And I do need to do something with them. But yeah, there's definitely a lot more quality in this. And I really like it. And then just in my box of bits, I got this. That's going back the next generation before. And that's a Series 3 XJ. So the last.
No, I don't recognise that.
The last of the equaliser Jags.
Yeah.
At a certain age. And that is stainless steel.
Wow.
And yeah, it's still got resin in the middle, but you can tell it's really hard. It's a different material. And it's got the same image, but a bit smaller. So the original growler.
I didn't catch that. Could you try again?
No, Siri.
Don't ask Siri what a growler is, John. Don't do it.
Very British gag, that. But yeah,
It's something totally different in the town I'm from, anyway.
I think it can be a pasty in some places. We get away with it.
It can be a pork pie. It is a pork pie. What are you talking about? It could be a pork pie.
But they're basically a little mini hubcap to go in the middle of your hubcap. So
yeah, it's a very high quality item, isn't it?
They've gone in the wrong direction. So you've got those, I take it?
Yeah, now that I've seen those three, I'm confident it's that one, but I think, well, I don't think, I'm pretty sure mine are black.
Yeah. Well, I believe, because there's 3 little holes on the back, if you put something blunt through those, you can push the resin out and wet and dry the green off until it's clear, and then spray it up. So that's a...
And then you've got to turn up a piece of wood with a recess and you've got a gear knob.
Yeah. Anyway, they're just on my desk, so they've been preying on my mind.
Oh.
Okay, so now we're down to what are our 3 recommended YouTube channels. And me and Gareth had a little pre-discussion on this, and we thought, well, it's too easy to pick on channels that have got, you know, thousands and thousands and thousands and 500,000 subscribers, well established, and you'd all recognise them. So I thought we'd pick out our current 3 favourites.
We had to eliminate To The Garage as well. We couldn't have be voting for conflict of interest.
So you're not allowed to vote for me. Get your excuse in early anyway. And what did we go for? Under 5,000, was it?
Under 5,000, yeah. Although I haven't got near to 5,000 with any.
I haven't got near to 5,000. We're both quite avid automotive YouTube watchers. So my first one is the letter O&DR Jaguar XK8. Stands for Owen and Damien Richardson.
Right, okay.
And these guys It's a father and son team who are doing these videos, and they got a really distinct style. It's PowerPoint. They've got the odd bit that's live film, but basically they're running some PowerPoint and they narrate over it. And it's really, really good, technically correct, informative stuff. All the stuff I don't give, all the details written down. So I'm currently watching their brilliant series. They're doing each model year of the XK8 and XKR as a separate video, and going through the specs and what changed from one model year to the next. But they've done umpteen videos on how to change stuff, mods, tweaks, but in this very distinct style, and I'm absolutely loving it. And I've only got 442 subscribers when I checked.
How many?
442.
Okay.
But they got 7 videos, and they're brilliant. So that's my number one recommendation.
Okay, so my number one, we'll get the potential snap out of the way. So you'll be very familiar with this one, John. Church House Classics.
Very familiar, but not on my list, so that's good.
All right, so we haven't got a snap then. I don't think we'll have a snap in that case. So I've been following this channel for quite a while, certainly long before he got over 1,000 subscribers. I find it really interesting to watch, mainly his choice of vehicles. So predominantly Range Rovers, but also series Land Rovers, as the former name would suggest, Triumph Stags, which is another passion of mine that I haven't indulged yet. But even this week, he's had a clip on the channel. There's been an XK8 featured on the channel in the past. And I just really enjoy watching him. The guy's got a really fantastic work ethic. He gets loads of stuff done. He's not too prissy about things. It's not all about the aesthetics. It's about making things that are fundamentally sound and reliable. I enjoy that. I'm going to say it's a positive in terms of it gives the character channel. Some of the language used is quite adult. The downside of that is that means that I can't watch it at certain times of the day or when certain members of the family are present. So that has to be I wouldn't say that any of my family share my indulgence of YouTube channels, but they can tolerate being in the room while I do. But that one, that one's a lone viewing.
Absolutely.
But yeah, great guy, fantastic character. Would absolutely love to go out for a beer with the guy.
Yeah.
I have to smile as well. I mean, he works on these old vehicles that have passed through many hands, and he uncovers, let's say, the work of former owners in much the same way that I have many times, and I'm sure you have, John, too. And he doesn't contain his reaction. So the reaction that goes on mostly in my head happens very much out loud and on the screen, and is to be enjoyed as far as I'm concerned.
Brilliant. Okay, so we haven't got a snap, but I've got to say that my next one is for exactly the same reasons as you, but the language is an entirely more tolerable level, let's put it like that. So my second is Jag Vet 1, J8.
That one,
yeah, VETTE, and then the numeral 1. And he's actually a subscriber to the garage. We've communicated a fair number of times. Great guy. Lives in Arizona, but is a Brit, or was a Brit. He's a Brit. Sure. Certainly hasn't lost his accent anyway. And he's got a little garage on his home where he works from. He works on his own cars a lot, and he works on other people's cars a little bit. And as the name would suggest, he's into Jags and Vets. So he's got a Corvette C4. He's got a Mark II Jag where he's doing a complete nuts and bolts rebuild on. It must be on episode 80, I don't know, of rebuilding the engine on that to perfection. Really beautifully done. But he's also got an XK8, which obviously lights my candle, and he's forever doing little jobs on that. And he's got his own little style, and again, it's a stream of consciousness. There's no filter. He's saying what he's thinking. Look, and Gary, I believe. And he, when he works on other people's cars, I assume they're other people's, and he's not just got a fleet. Yeah, some of the language is a little, but not to the same degree as your number two.
Richard.
And I love it. He's done one quite recently on what he called a Ford Exploder. Ford Exploder.
Oh yeah, with the fuel tank. Yeah.
And the Ford Exploder, he's not got many good words for, and it's mainly...
Was that the tyre or the fuel tank that got it the nickname?
It was the tyres on those. I think that's the one where Firestone built the tyres.
That's it, yeah.
And they
the
started
lawsuit with
selling them
Firestone,
in Europe, where we have a lot more bends and traffic islands and side loading. And tyres were going...
the tyres.
So, the Ford Exploder. But yeah, he's basically doing some stuff on damaged window regulators, and the entire way through his sort of commentary is, "Why did Ford stick a rivet there? That's a stupid." And it's just brilliant. Literally no editing going on, and absolutely love it. Brilliant channel, brilliant guy. JagVet1. He's got a Triumph Bonneville as well, if people are into motorbikes. And he's only got 170 subscribers.
Yeah, my number two is called Euro Stang. Stang as in Mustang.
Right.
So the name makes more sense when you realise, and I'm going to swear at you now, John, but the car is a Ford Capri. Slow reaction there, which I understand that the chap's owned for about 10 years. And much like my Mini here, it's evolved over time. So I think he started off developing the Pinto, probably doing some chassis mods and stuff on it. But he's obviously had an ambition, very driven ambition, to make it V8 powered. And he's gone on the Rover V8 route with it. Not for everybody, so a lot of people like to keep it all Ford and put a 302 in there. But he's gone down that route, and he's only got 645 subscribers, which is understandable because it's fairly niche. I think there've been close to 50 episodes now, but unless you want a V8 Ford Capri, you're probably not going to watch it. And I'm not saying I want a V8 Ford Capri, but I'm perverted enough to want to watch that stuff. But yeah, I watch it mainly because I absolutely admire this guy's tenacity. I think this has been his, I don't know this, but I think this has been his only ever project car, and he's learned everything he knows on this car. And this V8 conversion has been an absolute trial and tribulation for him. He started off with a couple of old engines. He rebuilt those, spent a fortune on it, got it on the road. Shortly followed by big end failure, which turned out to be one of the only elements that he subcontracted, was having the camshaft bearings pressed into the block, having them replaced.
Yeah.
And they didn't line up the oil in the bearing shell with the oil gallery. So it ate a bearing and sent all the rubbish all around the engine, wiped out his crankshaft. So he picked himself up, started again, rebuilt the engine again, put it in. His own mistake this time. He mistimed the engine, tried to start it and bent a valve. Couldn't get any compression, found out he bent a valve. So he stripped that down again, replaced the valve. I think he ended up checking the conrods and everything. Got that fixed, got it running again, took it out for a drive, and the oil pressure relief valve stuck open and he lost oil pressure, which was a bit of a cliffhanger, but fortunately no engine damage. But you've just got to admire the guy's tenacity. I don't know, having done lots of other projects myself, with that one, I think I'd have probably lost the will to carry on with it. Certainly the amount of money he's had to throw at it. I know what, he hasn't used standard parts. It's a fairly souped up example of a Rover V8. And I know what a Piper cam for a Rover V8 costs. And the thought of having to throw one away after about 50 miles and start again, on top of all the other rebuild parts, is just terrifying, really. So I admire that channel just for his sheer persistence, and I quite like the subject as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
your number three.
My number three, complete departure from the others. And that's because the clue's in the name, Vdubpolygre T25. Bit of a mouthful. This is a guy who's got only 263 subscribers. Dead niche.
Wow.
He's basically rebuilding without spending practically a penny his T25 van that he bought in pretty ropey condition, and he's doing everything on it. He's doing bodywork, learning as he goes, cutting out rust, respraying, rebuilding engine part. And I just like the guy who delivers the show. It's just dead straightforward. And he's rolling around, outside in the rain, fixing stuff. And it just, I'm really lucky. Like Gareth, I got a nice garage to go and play in. It wasn't so long ago, it was round the back of my nan's and a council garage that were rented and rolling around next to the curb in the street, hoping you didn't get run over. So this guy's just doing everything on a shoestring, and he's doing it well, and he presents well. And I really, really like Volkswagen T25s. I don't know why, Gareth. I can't explain it.
You don't even have one anymore, do you?
Well, I say I don't, and I do. My dad bought, in inverted commas, mine off of me. So I still see it very regularly. And we actually drove it. He drove it down to the garage to get something done on it just today. So I was in convoy with him with the T4.
Okay.
So it feels like I've still got it.
Well,
so it feels like I've got 3 camper vans. So what have you got for your number 3, sir?
So no, I've used a bit more of the range of the 5,000 that you have, but this is the most subscribers I've got by far. So it's 3,430 subscribers. But I'm going to be honest, I was really surprised that this was so low, because this is a well-known name. So this is RPI Engineering. So anybody, you're looking a bit puzzled, John, but anybody who's writing to Rover V8s, that's going to be a very familiar name. It's a bit of a one because it's a semi-commercial channel. They're using it partially to promote their business. But I'm baffled by the low number of subscribers. Literally any video they post, I'd be all over that, wanting to watch it. I think their videos are very informative. Very professionally produced, and I just enjoy them. I know that over V8 forums that as a supplier they're a bit Marmite. So not everybody's their biggest fan, and I don't know why that is. They do have some quite forthright views about products that they don't sell. But to be honest, I think that's founded on experience. Some people perceive them as expensive, but actually, when I've looked into the delivery costs and the quality of the product and getting everything from a single source and everything, I've normally defaulted to them. And what really sets them apart from just the sheer level of customer service you get. And I think it is that features in most of the videos. You pick up the phone and you actually speak to him, and your parts have arrived, and you want to ask a question about them. So I like watching that. They have some interesting stuff going on the channel. So Ian himself, I don't know what his role is in RPI. He's possibly one of the proprietaries. He's doing a twin turbo conversion on a P38 Range Rover, and he's taken through the whole thing, making up all the manifolds, adapting the cooling system. It's gone for a charge cooler on it rather than an intercooler, and the whole shebang is taking you all the way through that. I think with a view ultimately offer that as a kit when he's done all the R&D on his own vehicle. So that's pretty interesting. But they also take you through in the episodes everything that they've got going through their workshops at that moment in time. So there's a vast array of from MGs, Morgans, Land Rovers, forward control Land Rovers, and quite recently a very awesome sounding Mark 1.4 Capri fitted with a Rover V8, which I think they've probably got quite a lot of views on that video, to be fair. But there's some really interesting stuff passing through their workshops, and it tends to be the type of vehicle that I'm into. So I enjoy that one.
Cool. Well, I could have made a list of my top 20, 30 videos channels quite easily. I think I was subscribing to about 80 channels, which is stupid because I can't possibly watch everything that they put out. I just like to see the thumbnails come up and go, oh, that one I've got to watch. Okay, so that's our 2 post-it note challenge for tonight. We might find when we play this back, we've got a few glitches in the video, but you'll have to live with that, guys. Just around this conversation off, and there will be another, I'm sure. Gareth, if, and I know you've only just added a car to the fleet, if you're going to add another one to the fleet, have you got any idea where it might realistically be?
Yes, I'm going to say it's going to wear a green oval. I'm going for the old-ish lineup, I think.
Yeah.
To eventualities.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what would do it for me. I've had a lot to do with Land Rovers over the years, but never actually owned one. I think Land Rover's high on the agenda.
Oh.
Probably a series, but I don't know.
Yeah.
A Defender or series, I'm going to say, or the 9110 era that came in between the series and the Defenders.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, obviously a 308 probably goes without saying. Although genuinely, I pulled over and had a quick look at a 350 today, just because I passed it, and it was for sale, and it was a temptingly low price. Whereas it was a V6 petrol, it was not so interesting in. I could have gone V8 and I could have gone diesel, but V6 petrol, I'm not sure. It doesn't really tick as many boxes.
Doesn't float. Yeah, it's neither economical or got the romance of the V8.
No. It doesn't have the head all apart, really. Realistically, other than that, if I saw a 2CV at the right price, I'm still definitely interested in one of those. Again, kind of a bit like Olive. I don't need long term. Yeah, he did that. I don't need to own one long term. I don't think it'd be a forever car. I just fancy working on one and having a couple of adventures in it, and then probably just move it on and go on to the next project because I've got 4 cars. There's only 2 of us. There's only so many you can send to. My real issue is because I have such a long driveway that nothing will stop me except money. Fortunately, I don't have enough to get into trouble. Okay, so we're going to wrap this conversation up. I'm going to carry on talking to Gareth a bit when we're done. But for anybody who's watched through this little bit of footage of me and Gareth drinking and chatting, thank you very much. See you all really soon, guys. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.